Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday's episode of That Tom Clancy Show. It should go without saying at this point, but I'm That Tom Clancy. This is my show. Welcome to it. Fictional Cat, Liam, thank you guys for being here already today. Always very nice. Real quick point of order, Fictional Cat, newest member of the Mod Squad. Of course, I'm going to come up with a better name for it. Like, I don't know, the Ushers or something to go with the studio audience motif of the show. Hopefully this Wednesday finds you all doing well. So far things have been pretty all right for me. Got a couple new interviews coming up in a couple weeks that I'll tell you about next week. So, I mean, I gotta have some what's the word I'm looking for here? Gotta entice you all to keep coming back. You know, I can't give you all the information right away. But the most important guest is the one I have today. And in fact, my guest today is actually 3 people. And today, they're here to talk about their upcoming game, Rinlo, a VR action-adventure game. And Bits and Pixels, please welcome Eduardo, Izzy, and Victor of Gura Shop. Gura Shop. Oh no, what did I do? I broke things. This always happens to me. I unbroke things. Whew. Okay. And yeah, there we go. Hey guys. Welcome to the show. And
Hello.
hi. Sorry about that. I don't know what I hit, but it broke things. And yes, 10 FPS. Clearly I need to optimize my settings here. But thank you for that cheer there, Fictional Cat. So, I guess everybody introduce yourselves by voice. Will go Eduardo, Izzy, Victor for easy ordering.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having us today, Tom. Well, yeah, as you said, I'm Eduardo, developer of Gura Shop and, well, writer and director of Rinlo. It's great to be here, and it's great to have this opportunity to talk a little bit about our new game. I'm really excited about it.
Dude, I'm happy to have you guys here. I said yesterday when I was talking with the team from Toss VR that I didn't notice, or I may have missed, I'll freely accept that now, I may have missed, but in the first round of Pitch a Game, I didn't see any VR titles. So this time around, there were somewhere between 4 and 6, if memory serves, and yours was the first one I happened across, and I saw it, and I was like, this is a really interesting looking game. I want them on my show. And
that's great. Thanks so much.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I mean, it's, so why don't you guys, in your words, because you're the people that made it and you're going to probably describe it better than me, tell our audience who may not be aware, what is Rinlo?
Rinlo basically is a third-person experience for VR, okay, in the style of other games like Carly and the Reaper Man or Moss, which are really great games. And we kind of took the approach of these games, but gave them like a little twist with a more narrative-focused gameplay, okay? We are really trying to achieve an experience almost like an interactive movie, but that you have to, well, basically, you have to help Agatha, this character, to find her lost parents, which is a cool mission, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody understands trying to find a parent in some way or other, because everybody as a kid has gotten lost somewhere.
Yeah.
In the case of someone I know, it's been a bunch of places. What, I was an adventurous and curious kid. Stop looking at me like that, audience.
It's very important.
It happens. But yeah, so why the third person perspective?
Well, the thing with the third person, we decided to follow this approach because we felt that for the kind of story that we want to tell, that it's very character driven, very, it tries to develop a lot the personalities of these characters. So we thought that maybe it was the best possible approach, the best possible way to tell this story and to make you identify yourself with Agatha, that is our main character. If you see her in front of you in a third person instead of being you yourself, Agatha.
Oh, yeah. Additionally, I think it's nice too because it gives a broader view of the environment too. Because I mean, you guys are building some really interesting places to explore. You can definitely see your European influence in the architecture.
Yes, yes. We did a lot of research. I mean, the game follows this overall steampunk style. Not really fantastic steampunk. Not a lot of fantasy elements. More reality grounded, but it has an steampunk overall style. But yes, we did a lot of research in terms of Victorian Britain and a lot of German buildings, that kind of style.
I will say that I did pick up on that German influence. I've spent a very small bit of time in Germany, but I was looking at these buildings and I was like, yeah, this feels German.
Yeah, that was a little bit of our main goal.
Nice. Huzzah. I caught on to one of their goals.
Yes.
Winning. But so what are some of the challenges too that you've run into with developing a third person VR title? Because I mean, I'm not going to use the word easy here, but it seems more intuitive to make a VR game from a first person perspective.
Well, yeah, totally. I mean, maybe that's because what we are used to, as most VR games are first person. They have a first person camera. That's what we are used to. So it's a little bit weirder when you find, as you said, a third person one. But the thing is that if I had to choose only one one challenge that we had to face, I mean, there are a lot of challenges, but like the most challenging one for me was fixing how do we display and convey information to the player, as we don't have a UI, we don't have text on screen, we don't have like a health bar or anything like that, like an common 2D third person game. So we had to, I mean, you will find throughout the game, you will find small tutorials with text, but mostly we try to make the player feel and react to stuff based on how Agatha is reacting to that stuff, like the sound she makes, the movements, the different animations. That's the way that we are trying to convey all that information and transmit that information to the player, instead of having, images or graphics or that kind of stuff on screen, as we can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking as a fellow Unreal Engine developer, I mean, you can, with some very heavy air quotes there, but it's
Well,
yeah, but at the same time, it would take people out of the experience.
yeah, I mean, we could obviously attach, like, a widget, some information on the actual 3D camera in front of you, like floating on space. But as you said, it takes you out of the experience, and it wasn't really the style that we wanted to achieve. So that was like out of the question a bit. We didn't want to do that.
Hi, Steph. Hand is injured and can't stream today. Will be lurking. Thank you for sharing the stream. For everybody who is now following or joining us because of my friend Rebel IR Girl, or Steph as I know her because we're old time friends. I'm being joined by Eduardo, Izzy, and Victor from Gura Shop talking about their new VR game, Rinlo, which is also available in early access on Steam.
It
Yes.
is.
Hi guys. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah. So Izzy and Victor, because Eduardo's doing a lot of talking, and Eduardo, you're great. I'm not trying to like cut you out here, but what are you two doing
It's okay.
for
It's
the?
okay. I understand.
Oh,
I
dude,
understand.
as somebody who talks a lot myself, I get you. Trust me.
It's totally fine. Edu deserves a good break. We are happy to take over for a little bit.
But what are your roles on the team as well?
Well, I'm co-producing the game with Eduardo. I've been collaborating with him in many other games in the past. I'm assisting him on anything from testing, like narrative changes, things like that. But also,
Modeling.
we are working right now on this phase of the development on the marketing and trying to bring the game to as many people as possible, making sure the game is shared with everyone, with the community. So that's why we are putting a lot of effort on creating great content out there, making trailers, and managing our pages. And obviously, I'm happy to being in talk shows like this, explaining and sharing with everyone about our little project.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm kind of helping co-direct with the marketing, with all the social media, that kind of thing, kind of managing that side of things.
Nice.
Excited.
And I am but their humble podcast host, a robot in a garage in some undisclosed portion of the United States or the internet. You decide. But yeah, the game is a really neat look, and I'm guessing that this key art, which you all sent me to display on my couch, which is unfortunately also not able to get the coffee, which I so politely prepared for you today.
Sorry about that.
I'm only slightly disappointed, but so I'm guessing that these correspond to characters in the game.
Yeah, they do.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. So I'm guessing, Izzy, you are Agatha?
Yeah, so I'm Agatha, who is the main character, obviously, of Rinlo.
I wanted to be Agatha, but she called
I
me
like
first.
the purple hair, sorry. It suits me best.
We get along. I had purple hair for a while.
Oh, I love that. I love dyeing my hair random colors, so Agatha suits me perfectly.
Awesome.
But sorry, Agatha is the main character of Rinlo. It's played by Izzy at the moment, although
not in the real game.
Not in the real game. We had a voice actress to play all the voice and all the lines for Agatha. I am Edwin, which is the man standing next to her. Edwin is her father, the person who she's trying to find during the game.
Not in real life.
Not
just
in real
in
life.
The game.
Just in the game. And Eduardo is Graham,
which is the best. Which is the best character.
As you can see, he is standing there proud. It's a lovable character, very, very funny during the game, and he helps Agatha in her adventure.
And I'm guessing from his garb, he's a fisherman?
Yes, he is. He's a very grumpy fisherman.
Are there any other kind of fishermen?
Well, I don't know a lot of fishermen, actually, so I'm not going to.
Well, it always seems in movies movies and television shows, they're always grumpy. And then when they're happy, it means that something bad is about to happen. So
I guess they're always cold out on a boat, so that's probably why.
Yeah, indeed. So that actually answers one of the other questions I had, was whether or not this game was going to be fully voice acted, and apparently it is.
It is. It's fully voice acted.
You guys need any token American voices? I might know a guy.
Well, we should have known earlier.
Well, I didn't know that I was going to, it was a few months ago when I started this show back up, that I was going to be sitting down in a garage with you three talking about a VR game. So you're going to have to forgive me for not being psychic.
No problem. There's always games in the future.
Yeah. Fictional Cat, thank you for the host. But yeah, I do have to say this because you all are officially the first Unreal developers on my show as a guest.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
Everybody else has been either using Unity. Nixodemus1 on the Picture Game Discord uses Blender. I didn't even know you could make games in Blender until I had him on the show a few weeks ago.
Me
I'm like,
neither.
are you kidding me?
Respect for that guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, there's part of me that like wants to call his doctor and just have him like do a quick like wellness check.
Oh well.
Because that can't be healthy behavior.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So, as fellow Unreal users, why did you guys make the decision to go with Unreal over something like Unity in this instance?
Well, the thing is mostly because for all our past projects we've been using Unreal, so we are all, and me myself particularly, I'm really used to working with it. I feel really comfortable with the game engine, and also because for Rinlo, as you mentioned, we were also looking to give it a really to make it look very pretty, okay, to make it look with these really gorgeous sunsets and beautiful colors and that kind of stuff. As we that way we can explore a little bit more what we can do with virtual reality and make it look everything amazing. So we felt that, I mean, obviously you can create gorgeous things with other engines, but
Yes.
with Unreal, it has a lot of tools that really allow you to fine tune and optimize the lighting, the environment, the post processing, all of that in a very easy and comfortable way. So that was one of the main reasons.
Awesome. Yeah, I use it because I'm programming language illiterate. And blueprints are very easy for me to
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, that's true. The blueprints are are a great way to like very complex games, without knowing how to code. It's very accessible for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the coolest things that I saw was right after Unreal 4 was debuted in 20 or became available to the public in 2014. I was very lucky and I happened to go to the East Coast Games Conference down in North Carolina, which also happens to be right where Epic is headquartered. And
Oh,
Zach Parrish, who's at the time he was just a senior technical artist, and now he has some like fancy title. Zach Parrish, if you're watching, I'd love to have you on the show. He's a cool dude. Pink hair. Yeah,
really?
yeah. I mean, at the time,
You
yeah,
should do like a pink hair day.
yeah. Give myself like a little like mohawk or something. That would be really easy to implement. Just make that in Maya, import parent to mesh. Bam, done. But he was showing off at one of the early Unreal Engine talks there, things that some of their developers had come up with entirely using blueprints. And one of their artists, in the course of 2-3 days, made a Flappy Bird clone.
Wow.
And it was like a complete, felt the exact same. They had it on iOS, the Apple App Store the same day. And I was like, and it was like if Flappy Bird was slightly more evil. If such a
Can
thing
it
was.
be more evil?
Yeah, I know. It was called Tappy Chicken. And it was slightly more evil. But it was free, so that was always a bonus too. But wow, yeah, you guys have been doing a very good job of answering my questions in very wonderful and excellent and specific and succinct ways.
Oh, thanks.
Dang.
We've been this since Monday, actually, for all these questions.
Wow, that's longer than I've been preparing for this. But because once I got you guys on the schedule, give a little like peek behind the curtain for you all and everybody back watching in the studio audience. Like I have my slate of shows for the week, and I haven't for a while, but I try and get promos out or at least tweet vociferously about the shows. And then it's like I cut together effectively like 2 cue cards for you all. And the hardest part is always coming up with the 5 questions at the end of the interview that are meant to just like ask you random stuff. And the actual intro for you too, because like some guests are it's very easy to write that intro, and then for you guys it was all like I'm gonna base this whole thing about 3 people being here.
Yep.
So so how big is your team in actuality? Because I imagine it's bigger than the 3 of you.
Oh no, it's not. It's the 3 of us.
Never mind then.
Entire
That-
team is here for you. This is it.
This is
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have all of you here then. I have 100% of the team.
Yes, you do.
I was looking over your website earlier too, and this is not your first game.
No, it's not.
Yeah. No way. No. So I guess this is kind of like a twofold question in that the first, or actually it's just 2 separate questions. The first one being, how have you all managed to stay continue operating as a studio together through all of these multiple titles? And then the second question I'll hold on to because, let's talk about this one first.
Mhm. Well, that's a very interesting question. I'm sure Eduardo can tell you a little bit more because he started Gura Shop Studios with his first title, which was called Behind the Memory. I remember, I think back in 2016. That's correct. He learned Unreal pretty much by himself, and he always wanted to produce cinematic games. And I remember like helping him and seeing a little bit of the project back then. And I would say at that time, I'm sure Edu, correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't like a serious venture. You just wanted to try things, see how it went.
Yeah, it was basically a one-time project. Like, let's do something different.
That's correct. And then, I guess you learn a lot, and we started to talk about, our future, and then you developed as the second game, right? Uplands VR.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then, like things started to get a little bit faster and a lot more complex. Edu, I don't know if you want to say about the other games you've developed, and then the first project that we collaborated together properly, which was Ride Up.
Right. Yes. Yeah, because Behind the Memory and Uplands were like very small, basically experimental projects. Behind the Memory was a narrative game, as Victor let's do something different because at that time I was in film school. I was a film student, so I wanted to find a different way of telling a narrative story. So I felt like, let's do it interactive, like a video game. And after that came Uplands. That was a little, experiment to do something VR. Not my personal favorite, but I learned a lot doing that project, and that allowed me to start working later on Ride Up, which was the title Big said that essentially was a virtual theme park ride simulator that has nothing to do with anything else we've done, but people really loved it at the time. It was almost 3 or 4 years ago, and we had a ton of fun doing that project.
Nice.
Yes.
And Izzy, what was your path that brought you to Gura Shop?
Well, I met Vic last year, a year and a half ago, and then within, obviously, we now live together, all that stuff, relationships, that kind of thing.
They do happen.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said they do happen.
They do happen, yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah, so obviously with the whole coronavirus that we won't mention, but unfortunately the sector that I work in, which is live events, obviously stopped. So Vic was like, oh, well, we're working on this project. We're going to start doing the social media. Do you want to help out? So I was like, sure, yeah, why not? And that's kind of how I got into it with them, just helping with the social media at the start. And it's just become what it's becoming.
That's it.
Yes, that's kind of it.
This is
my first game. The first time I played VR. The first time I've really got into gaming properly, which is bad.
And now you love.
She's the newbie of the team.
I'm a newbie.
You know, and everybody starts somewhere, and you know, you're starting at a good spot.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Speaking from personal experience, starting in QA, not the most glamorous of situations. But
True.
a necessary job.
It's very necessary. Yeah.
God, man, that just got me thinking. Like, I imagine that testing in VR has got to be painful. Because I mean, you know, as you've worked on multiple VR titles before, that magic number, so to speak, is hitting 90 FPS, and then you know, wanting, of course, to even go beyond that. And you know, the crazy thing too of being VR is that not only do you have to do 90 FPS, but you have to do it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So you're effectively having to run a project at 180 FPS.
Yep. Well, yes and no. I mean, in theory, yes. The truth is that later, I mean, as long as it's running at a speed of 90 FPS on the computer, that's fine. That's what we are achieving. I mean, if we had to follow the 180 FPS number, that would be completely impossible. But as you said, yes, it has to run at 90 FPS at least. And yes, I mean, you have to do a lot of planning in advance of how are you going to develop, model, design, texture, the scenes. The characters, everything. We have to do a lot of different tricks to, you know, to achieve things that would basically completely obliterate our frame rate if we had there like, I mean, for example, we are using like, we have shadows in the game, but they have to be recreated in a completely different way that you would on a regular game, because dynamic shadows are really expensive and that kind of stuff. So yes, it's hard, and we have to come up with a lot of creative alternatives and ideas on how to do stuff, basically.
I can fully understand that. A friend of mine and I were, before he got a real job and I started moving into this show more full-time kind of thing, our way around the dynamic shadows, at least for characters, at least, was literally to have them walking around with like an alpha oval at the base of their feet that would just track to whatever surface they were walking on. You know, it's inexpensive, it's kind of lazy, but it works.
Yeah, it works, and yeah, as you mentioned, it's really hard to achieve those frames per second, that number, and every millisecond we can get extra to the player. That's great. That's a great reward for us.
Yeah. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for joining us today. Ashley, since you're just joining us, I'm talking with Eduardo, Izzy, and Victor from Gura Shop. They're talking about their new VR game, Rinlo. Yeah, it's a lot of people, like, optimization is one of those things that a lot of gamers don't really think about. At least not until they get a game and they start seeing like huge frame rate hiccups. But especially in VR, that frame rate hiccup is I'm trying to think, it is an immersion shattering and stomach turning experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's really something that gets a lot of importance in the VR field. I mean, we have this scene that it's like a forest scene when Agatha, spoiler alert, but when Agatha arrives finally at her village at Rinlo, we have this fairly big map with a lot of trees, waterfalls, or particles, fog, etc. And when we designed it, modeled it, and started testing it, oh my God, it was terrible. The frame rate was horrible. And we had to work a lot on that level because that many trees, it was something really hard for the VR headset. Yes, but in the end, the fun story is that in the end we managed to optimize that scene, and right now it runs as one of the best maps in the whole game. so,
Nice.
so I think we did a good job.
Yes, definitely.
Are you all developing for any other platforms aside from Steam VR? Like, are you thinking about targeting the Oculus Quest or trying to get into the Oculus Store as well, or just?
Yes. Well,
No.
at the moment. Oh, sorry.
Yes, big. You tell them.
Well, at the moment, because this is an early access release and we want to test how people react to the game and obviously keep building on it, the game is only available on Steam. But we are going to release the game in October with this full version with all the chapters added in Viveport and the Oculus Store. Oculus Quest and PlayStation VR are, in the future in a maybe category. That depends, obviously, because developing for them is a completely different pipeline, and it will depend on how the game does and how we are obviously in that situation. But at the moment, yes, we are concentrating on those 3 releases. And that's pretty much it. Yes, we are really excited about bringing the game to those 3 platforms.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, I'm an Index user, and so it's just anything that shows up on Steam VR is just makes me unreasonably happy. Because there is that aspect of VR gaming where we have the whole Oculus Store is its own separate unique category that's walled off from everything else, and it just kind of sucks that we have effectively these extensions of our computer which really shouldn't be locked to any particular store or anything, because they all effectively are the same thing. And it just sucks that like you have those titles that are locked behind a different set of hardware. Because like, dude, you can't tell me that there's some actual reason why I can't play Vader Immortal on an Index or a Vive.
Yeah, I think it is important to kind of reach as many people as possible. So that's kind of why obviously Steam is one of the easier places to distribute our game, but also means we can reach a lot more people. So yeah, it's definitely important.
Well, we also have Half-Life Alyx, which has been driving Steam VR compatible headset sales for the last several months. I read a news article, or no, it wasn't a news article, I should say. It was a Reddit thread, and I haven't actually bothered to check its veracity. Comment to everybody in the audience, remember to check your sources, folks. But the particular thread was saying that at least ordering of the Index in Germany has been delayed 3 to 5 weeks. And that's crazy to me, like in a good way, crazy. So yeah, like it's good to see that VR to an extent is starting to, build a foundation.
Yeah, it's an industry that's growing a lot right now because as manufacturers make their headsets more affordable and more accessible for everyone, and also as new exclusive or just big games and more games, quality games, start to pop up on the VR scene, more people are going to get attracted to this industry and to this kind of gaming.
Yeah. And especially with VR, more so than other forms of gaming, it's a multi-purpose tool. I mean, an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch is only good for effectively one thing. Whereas, especially now in the era of the modern pandemic, we have VR as a social tool, as a gaming tool, as a creative tool, a learning tool. You know, it's a one-stop shop for so many things now. When Palmer Luckey debuted the original DK1 Oculus, everybody was just thinking about what it would do for games.
Yeah, I think people don't always realize just how big of a potential that VR has to, yeah, like you said, be used in all different aspects of life, really, especially now.
Yes, training, educational, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a
All the artistic apps also.
yeah, one of my
really cool.
I mean, hell, the piece of wall art I have there on my back wall was made in VR.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I forget the exact modeling tool, but yeah, it was I forget his last name, but a friend of mine named Vlad who just specializes in virtual reality art now, whether through like Oculus Quill or Tilt Brush, or I think it was like Google Blocks or something like that was the name of the program. You know, it's and then you have things, I was talking about it yesterday on the show, like the Museum of Other Realities, which is a virtual museum dedicated entirely to virtual art.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's way bigger than just video games. But that said, we're finally getting like an X-Wing versus TIE Fighter in VR, and I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
That announcement, and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm
So
so excited.
Really, really exciting.
I was
Yes.
excited, but I was cautious because I was like, oh, it's EA though, so they're probably going to tie it to like the Oculus store. And then when they put the Steam listing up and it said Steam VR, I was just like, yes. Like I want to RP the crap out of it because I'm an old Rogue Squadron books fan, and I just like want to be like sitting there, in the cockpit and like talking with my my wingmates and being all like, all right guys, scratch one eyeball, and just like just creep regular people out.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's how you play those games. You have to immerse in the character.
Yeah, you got to, man. Although, in fairness, like this is nothing against the Rebel Alliance. The Rebel Alliance is excellent, as is the New Republic. But the Empire's got the coolest stuff, and this guy is going to become a TIE Interceptor ace. All I'm saying.
Well, we won't judge you which side you choose. Whoever it's at the end of the day, it's actually having fun. But it's really cool that as you were saying, like the fact that we have these kinds of games now, that they are making these games, they are spending the money in producing VR titles that are like high quality. They bring this type of things. That means that the industry is going forward, and we are going to see more and more, hopefully, good quality, big like titles and other applications, as you say. But this is a really good indication that this is changing slowly. I mean, I've been working with VR since 2017, like when Edu was developing Uplands Motel, and as you say, like things have changed so much since the first Oculus SDK1. And now we have a lot more. So who knows what the future will bring, but it's definitely very exciting, and it makes us excited to keep working on these projects.
Yeah. I mean, VR is such an interesting VR, AR, and mixed reality is just such an interesting period of technology. And like I frequently joke that I was born too early. Like I am meant to live in like some William Gibson written cyberpunk dystopia. But as VR has advanced over the last 10 years, I'm realizing I'm kind of in just about the perfect time period for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, yeah, it's because in my lifetime I've seen the evolution of so many different kinds of technologies. Like the birth of home console video games, the internet, and now, with like VR, it's like what's next?
I know that's always the exciting thing. It's like all this technology that's just popped up in the last like 10 years, even less. Like, what's next? What is someone going to make next? That is going to be the next big thing. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, because even as early or as close to the release of smartphones as 2004, people weren't predicting that things like iPhones and Androids were going to become the ubiquitous computing device. We have, with the advent of the iPad, at least here in the States, we have like a whole generation of kids who are growing up with the iPad as their primary computer.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's used a lot more in schools. Kids, even like 4, 5, 6 years old, know instantly how to use a phone or an iPad or like just do something that years ago you wouldn't have even thought that a kid that young could do. It's great. It gives so much more access to a wider audience. With all this new technology.
Yeah, exactly. In 10 years, we could all be wearing VR headsets and it would be the norm, and kids would use it, elderly people would use it, and it would be like that thing. But maybe right now we don't even like conceive that future, or we think that it's far away. But
I mean, right now we're already starting to see stuff like at least in the VR industry, like the omnidirectional walking platforms or the haptic feedback vests, that kind of stuff. That is really cool, and it provides you like an extra immersion that I don't know we weren't even imagining a few years ago.
Well, in fairness, Sega was imagining it a long time ago because they came out with, I forget what it was called, but they had the first like haptic vest, and it was stupid, but they made it, and everybody was all like, "Sega, you're stupid." And I bet you that the Sega engineer who came up with that is like somewhere sitting at home seeing all the new haptic stuff coming up, and he's all like, "Who's stupid now?" Flipping tables. If you'd listened to me, the Dreamcast wouldn't have been a failure.
Yeah, but we're seeing all this stuff becoming a reality in consumer terms, like not only like very niche arcade or only for people who can afford really expensive items, like they are more commercially available than ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the Oculus Quest coming out at its price point was the best thing that's happened to VR. And then the second,
you don't need a gaming computer to run it. I mean, that's the thing.
Time. No, and you're absolutely right. And then the second best thing was when they updated the firmware, and any USB cable would function as an Oculus Link.
That was
correct.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know enough specifics about the hardware in the Quest, but I mean, probably anybody who has a computer that's within 5 years old probably has something that's going to be able to add to the power of the Quest.
Yeah, that's something that's really cool, and that's advancing so quickly that, as you said, we don't know what's coming.
No, and that's what kind of makes it all really exciting too. Oh man. Well, this is the time where I turn to my audience and I say to you guys, "Hey everybody, how's it going? Do you have any questions for my newfound friends here from Gura Shop? Anything at all? I mean, I'll even take off-topic questions because who knows? They might have hilarious answers." But yeah. Well, one thing I definitely have to say is I super appreciate you guys sharing your game via Pitch Your Game last week. Was it last week?
Yes.
God, man, that I don't know if you guys saw the award show on Friday, but that like completely threw off my sense of everything.
We did. We saw
it.
We
did watch it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That was a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it was such a cool initiative. Like, we just noticed it and then realized suddenly that there was thousands of games out there that we didn't even know existed. And it was just such a great kind of community to be part of. and to meet new people and see all these games, different types of games you wouldn't even know were out there without this. So yeah, it was really amazing to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason why Liam started it. He's actually in chat too. Mr. Liam Toos is to help bring that out there. And there are so many just crazy games. One of my favorites that I saw was Fashion Police Squad, where you are a fashion police officer and you're bringing the justice of fashion to people who are committing crimes against fashion. And I reached out to them to ask them if they would be on the show too, but unfortunately they're like kind of nose to the grindstone trying to get their game ready, and they're all like, hey, maybe next year. And I was like, look, man, invitation's always open. You let me know when you want to be on the show, I'll make it happen.
Yeah, that sounds like an epic game, and now I want.
Yeah, it sounds great. Sounds awesome.
I forget the name of their of the actual Twitter account, but I have a DM conversation going with them, so I'll shoot you a link to their profile after the show.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Because it's like pixel art and everything. It's beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah, and it's the cool thing too is that there's a whole variety of games that even 5 years ago we never would have thought possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think game development, I'm not saying it's easy, because it's definitely not easy.
Oh, hell no.
Could not do it. So, but I think it's become more accessible, so more and more people can try
with
and
more
give it a
interesting
go.
ideas.
Yeah, and just share their ideas. And there's such a great community that's been created that is so supportive, mostly, of everyone. So it's just great that people have the opportunity to try something new and put their idea out there, and they're not shot down straight away. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the mainstream video game developers have just grown so big that it is not always in their best interest to try new things, and so it opens up this possibility for games like Stardew Valley to come out, for games like Rinlo to enter development. All of these games that people would, the bigwigs of video game development would just look at and go like, oh, that's never going to sell. And then you have Stardew Valley, which did so well, it's on like every platform.
Yeah.
It's you get so many of these quirky, silly little games. And I mean, that's not to say that every game does well, because not every game does well, but there is a healthy ecosystem for these ideas to exist in, and that's amazing.
I think the great thing about it just gives everyone the opportunity to try and make a game that they think, I really would love to play this game, but it doesn't exist, so why don't I give it a go and try and make it myself?
Yeah, that's pretty amazingly on point. Yeah, you nailed it. No. That's it, guys. Izzy might be a newbie, but she knows games. Well, it's getting about that time for me to ask the 5 questions. So, for those of you in the audience who might be first-time viewers, and for you all, just in case you aren't 100% aware of the 5 questions, the 5 questions are 5 questions that I ask that have absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the interview. Let me just double check Yep, none of them have anything to do with video games either. So, these are going to be absolutely silly questions. And because I have 3 of you on today, there is a theme. The theme is trios.
Oh my.
So every question is going to be talking about a famous fictional or historical trio.
Okay.
So, question number 1. What are the names of the Three Musketeers?
Oh no.
Oh wow.
I just watched it.
Oh man, I know them, but in Spanish.
Okay.
Do them in Spanish first, Edu. And then, yes. I can only think of D'Artagnan, but he's not part of it.
He
He's
is not.
the one.
That's a trick.
They were Aramis, Porthos, oh shit, I'm sorry. And the other one.
Oh, what is the other one?
You've
can't
got
believe-
two. You've got two.
Aramis,
Aramis,
Porthos, and
If it's any help, if you saw the Disney movie from the 90s, they were played by Kiefer Sutherland.
oh
Oof.
no.
I know what we're watching on Disney Plus tonight.
Yep.
Dude, I've been meaning to watch it too. I'm not gonna like the Disney Plus, like so many movies I loved as a kid are back, and a lot of them hold up and are still excellent.
They
I do.
are. Yeah, we have been watching a lot.
Yeah.
I just watched the version they did with Mickey and Donald and Goofy. I still can't remember the names.
Well, they were
Oh,
probably
gosh.
Mickey, Donald, and Goofy.
No. They did give them the real names, but
Oh,
I
snap.
forgot.
Wow.
Well, I'm gonna give you another, say, 10 seconds.
Oh boy, how can we not remember this?
I don't know.
Oh
Come
no.
on, guys.
3.
Aramis,
Two,
Porthos, and...
No.
I don't know.
All right, you got 2 out of 3. That's not bad.
Okay.
Athos.
Athos.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we'll watch that movie tonight.
All right. And if it turns out that I was wrong as to which role Kiefer Sutherland played, I haven't watched that movie in like 25 years. So, I do know that my neighbor, he just had a son and he named him Aramis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, my neighbor is him and his wife are nerds. Their daughter's name is Eowyn.
Okay.
Oh.
And like I love him. All right. Liam says he only got 0. Okay, Liam, you can play along at home. They're already doing better than you. Question number 2. Which of the 3 tenors is actually a tenor?
Oh.
Oh my.
No idea.
Blank. I'm sorry.
Completely no idea. Oh boy, we're failing.
It's
This
okay.
is embarrassing.
This one was a trick question.
None of them?
They're all tenors.
Oh, that's mean. That's mean.
Oh, yeah, come on. I mean, the 5 questions are entirely for fun. So, of course, some of them are going to be mean.
We'll give you that.
All right. Question number 3. Red, blue, and green is a classic color combination, especially among trios. What was the name of the green shirt wearing member of Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Theodore.
Boom! Nailed
I
it.
know that one.
Nice one.
Yeah, I when I did the quick Google search today for famous trios, I was looking at it, and with the exception of like the Three Musketeers, everybody was wearing red, blue, and green.
Amazing.
And I was just like, well, that's really coincidental. But
The question is, Edu, are you wearing blue? Because we're both wearing red and green.
I'm wearing blue.
Oh my
Wait.
goodness.
I'm also wearing blue.
Wow.
Oh.
I also have some red and green going too.
Nice one.
Nice.
Ashley
Perfect.
says she was way too excited at knowing the answer to that one. Dude, everybody was excited at knowing the answer to any of these questions. The next one is my personal favorite question. Which of the following actors is not one of the 3 amigos? Chevy Chase, Dom DeLuise, or Steve Martin?
Oh.
Steve Martin.
Is that your final answer?
I don't know. Guys, a little help.
Something to maybe.
Steve Martin.
Oh no. Yes.
Is that your final answer?
I mean, I'm reading the comments and Ashley said something else, so now I don't know. But yes, let's go with our final answer, Steve Martin.
Okay, you should have listened to Ashley. It's Dom DeLuise.
No.
The three amigos are Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. If you are unaware of the movie, it is a classic American comedy or comedy action in which Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short are actors who play a trio of vigilantes known as the Three Amigos in like little film shorts and stuff, who get commissioned by a small Mexican town to come and help them against a group of bandits. They, of course, think that they're there to pretend to fight the bandits, and comedy ensues.
Oh, see, now we've got another movie to watch tonight.
It's not a Disney movie,
marathon.
but it's a classic. It's from when like Chevy Chase actually gave half a shit about what he did.
See.
Well, question number 5. If you could ask me any 3 questions, would they all be, why are you asking us about trios?
Probably. No. You want us to ask you 3 questions?
No, I was just asking that one as a joke. The 5th one's always kind of like the throwaway question. There was no easy way for me to ask you, do you need a robot in your game? And this one I was just like, I was writing these questions and I was like, they're gonna hate these questions.
They were hard questions, but good questions.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you got 2 out of 3 on the Musketeers. The tenors, tricked you. So good job, me. And you got the Chipmunk. So, I mean, that's...
Yeah, I got a Chipmunks one. That's fine.
Look, and I mean, like, yes, they've had modern movies. But to be completely honest, the Chipmunks are fairly niche. And you nailed it. Like, no hesitation. Theodore. Like, you should be proud of that answer.
They were great.
Yay.
Well, guys, it has been awesome having you here today. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, including the three Musketeers, or Alvin and the Chipmunks. But before we go, where can everybody find you on social media?
So we have Instagram, Twitter, we're on Reddit, we've got a Discord, obviously Steam, we've got a YouTube.
Please follow.
Basically everywhere. Just type in Rinlo Game and you will find us all over the internet.
Please join the family. We would love to have you there. We share every day new content for the game. We listen to feedback. We listen to everyone who has something to say. And we work every day to make the game more awesome for all of you.
So yeah, please come join us.
Awesome. Everybody, if you follow me on Twitter, at Tom Clancy, don't forget the H. It's very important. I will be linking their Twitter account in my special thank you tweet, which I send out every day. And I mean every day, because y'all are awesome. Just as yesterday's guest and the day before's. I'm sure tomorrow's guest will be great too. You never know, though. One of them's from Australia.
Whoa.
No. No, it's funny because of the time difference with their, it will be like late, it'll be my night, but his morning the next day. So it's, do you guys
That's
want
great.
any like lottery numbers he might know since he's in the future?
We could do with that.
Yeah, I'll be sure to ask. I'll pass any along.
Okay.
But once again, thank you all for being here. It was wonderful to have another member of the Unreal family here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We had a ton of fun.
It's
Awesome.
been really fun.
And all of you guys, go wishlist their game. You know, it definitely helps them. Follow them on social media.
Yes,
Their game
please.
looks, their game is cute. I wishlisted you earlier this morning. Don't you worry.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right.
All right. So what I'm going to do now, as I've already said, my thanks to you all, is I'm going to cut over to this camera angle right over here. And I am now going to talk directly to you, my studio audience. Thank you all for being here. Just to let you know, tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'll be talking with Mr. Craig Ritchie about Broken Roads. After that, I'm going to be taking the weekend off to focus on more show stuff, like getting arms. We'll see what we can get done by Monday. And I'll be back with a whole new slate of crazy shows next week. Once again, thank you to my guests from Rinlo. They are Eduardo, Izzy, and Victor. And thanks again to you all, my mods, Liam and Fictional Cat, who are here today. Ashley, thank you for coming by. Thank you for the hosts, all that wonderful stuff. But unfortunately, I have to go. So I'll see you next time on That Tom Clancy Show. Bye, guys.